Hello, this is Keith, welcoming you to the 1989th edition of the Enfield Talking newspaper, Dateline the 5th of February 2015. The readers this week are Sally, Colin and Keith, with Robin on the controls. The items that we will be reading come from our local newspapers, the Enfield Gazette and Advertiser and the Enfield Independent, under their copyright. Our title music is Country Rock Polka, composed by Pat Prilly, Ferdinand Bouillon, Harry Breur, and is performed by Jean-Jacques Perry, and is used with his kind permission. Local stories include Party Teenager Stabbed to Death and Park Group Say There Is Nothing Left. First of all, the special news items this week. There's a project called DIY Streets Edmonton. This is a project to this project is in train to redesign Church Street, Edmonton, for easier and safer walking, cycling, etc. The project team is arranging a focus group meeting so that disabled people can contribute their views and experiences of accessing the area, and we hope that one or two members of Enfield Vision will come along. The meeting is on Thursday the 19th of February, and it's from 10:30am to 12 noon at Community House, and it's in room 1. Come along to express your views and experiences of accessing Church Street, Edmonton. There's no need to book, just turn up. But if you want more details, please contact Deanna Rogers on 028 373 6222. That's the DIY Streets Edmonton project at Community House on Thursday the 19th of February, and the contact is Deanna Rogers on 0208 373 6222. Tate Britain are running an audio description on animals on Monday the 16th of February from 11am to 12:30, and it's free. Tea and coffee will be served in the Manton studio from 10:30am. Hearing loops and amplifiers are available. Blind and partially sighted visitors are invited to join the Tate for an audio description tour of Tate collection works where animals are used as either hidden or revealing symbols, or in abstraction as political statements. The tour is led by trained describers Luke Smith and Anna Marie Gray. The talk will take place seated in the gallery, and it will be giving a detailed and fascinating description of the works. Sighted companions and guide dogs are also welcome. For more information, contact Anna Murray on 0207 887 8888. I'll give you the date again. It's Monday the 16th of February from 11 to 12:30, and it's Tate Britain audio descriptions, and the contact is Anna Murray on 0207 887 8888. The Home Library Service is part of Enfield Libraries and provides a delivery service to people living in the borough who are unable to visit a library due to age, mobility, disability or their caring responsibilities. We visit each of our members every 4 weeks. The service is free and we will tailor it to your taste. For visually impaired people, we can provide books in large print or recorded books on CD or cassette. We can also bring music on CD or films on DVD for people with some vision. Members are free to reserve particular items. If you'd like to join the Home Library Service or know someone who would, please call 01992 716 010 and we will arrange for the Community Access Librarian to visit you. That's 01992 716 010. And finally, our usual item regarding Enfield Macular Disease Support Group. This group meets on the second Wednesday of every month from 10am to 12 noon at the Trinity Church Hall, Gentleman's Row, Enfield, EN2 6AN. The meetings are open to anyone affected by central vision loss, and carers are welcome as well. If you want further details, please contact Alan Newson on 020 8886 5659. That's Alan Newson on 020 886 5659. If you are experiencing any problems receiving your Enfield Talking newspaper, please phone Diane de Jersey on 020 8805 6578. She is your listener's representative and she will be pleased to help you. That's Dinah Jersey, and she's on 020 8805 6578. Now Sally will read the first item of local news.
The tragic fatal stabbing of a teenage partygoer in Winchmore Hill prompted parliamentary support for Enfield MP Nick Dubois' campaign for mandatory prison sentences for repeat offenders caught carrying a knife. Shaquan Sammy Plummer, aged 17, died after staggering along the street and collapsing following an altercation outside a house party he had been to in Berkeley Gardens. The teenager from Finsbury Park, known to his friends as Shaq, was rushed to hospital by air ambulance, but medics performing open-heart surgery on board were unable to save his life. Mr Dubois, the MP for Enfield North, who has been championing a change in the law since meeting the mother of 17-year-old Lawson Godwin from Enfield, who was knifed to death while out with friends in Stamford Hill in March 2010, received cross-party support in the Commons yesterday for a change in the law for those found in possession of a knife. If the motion is granted royal assent, it will mean anyone of any age caught for a second time will face at least 6 months behind bars. Mr Dubois said it would be a fitting tribute to the youngster's memory. He told the Advertiser, "Last year in London, 19,000 prosecutions were brought for knife possession, but only 1 in 5 resulted in a custodial sentence. That is just not good enough when we see terribly tragic cases like Shaquan's. My thoughts are with his family. This new law will mean that even if you are under 16, you will go to prison. Everyone deserves a second chance, so it will not be mandatory sentence for the first time they are caught. It is time to put an end to these dreadfully sad cases." A 17-year-old girl, 2 17-year-old boys and a 46-year-old woman arrested on suspicion of murder have been released on police bail until a date in March. A 21-year-old has also been bailed, and a third 17-year-old boy was also bailed. Police are appealing for anyone with information to contact the incident room on 0208 345 3775 or, to remain anonymous, call Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
A park group was left fuming after seeing green space decimated during redevelopment work. Friends of Berry Lodge Park in Berry Lodge Gardens, Edmonton, believe they were betrayed when an area of the park was stripped as part of restoration work. Plans had been agreed by Enfield Borough Council, Thames 21 and the park group to create a sustainable drainage system in Salmons Brook, which runs through the park to help reduce pollution from the nearby A10 highway. However, the group now claims that plans for the site showing a new wetland and pond were not agreed and have resulted in the clearance of the site. Dennis Vallance of Friends of Berry Lodge Park told the Enfield Independent that the group had agreed to volunteer and help the authorities build a new footpath through the park along with the drainage system, but are now devastated by its current appearance. She said, "There is nothing left. It has been decimated. An entire ecosystem gone, wildlife killed, habitat lost, food supply gone, site open to anyone, pollution and noise from the A10. We never agreed to a wetland on the site. We were happy to see the drainage system be installed, but we told the council and Thames 21 we are totally against the wetland and ponds. They could become stagnant pools." Cabinet Member for Environment and Community Safety, Councillor Chris Bond, said, We have not deviated 1 centimetre from the plans discussed and agreed with the Friends of Bury Park. We very much welcome and value their input into the park and will continue to work closely with them in the future. The site is a former council depot which will be transformed into a public park. There was a substantial quantity of waste material such as concrete, steel and plastic spread across the site and entangled in the vegetation which had to be removed. Hence, it was necessary to clear all the existing scrub vegetation. I acknowledge it looks a little ugly at present, but I'd ask the Friends of the Park to bear with us, because on completion, the park will be a beautiful oasis for wildlife and a beacon for nature lovers across the borough. A Thames 21 spokesman said, the main works involved in the park scheme are planned to take place during the summer of 2015. A planning application has not yet been submitted as designs are not finalised. It has been necessary to carry out vegetation removal during the autumn-winter season at the proposed site to avoid disturbing nesting birds when they will be active over the spring months. The area recently cleared had been agreed with the Friends of Bury Lodge last year. The latest public consultation took place on Saturday, but Ms Valance believes the consultations meeting had raised more questions than answers. She said, "You got a different answer depending on whom you spoke to. We still don't know how much it is going to cost or when it will be completed. It also seems that the authorities will ask us to maintain the park, but we have already told them that on safety grounds we will not do it. The banks are too steep and it is not what we agreed." However, a Thames 21 spokesman said the consultation was positive. He said, "The majority of people who provided response on the feedback forms stated that they supported the project. This included 78% who supported the proposal to convert the area into a new public park."
The Prime Minister visited a school in the borough to launch his vision of how the education system would look under a Conservative government. David Cameron told an audience of invited Enfield Party members at Kingsmead Academy School in Southbury Road, Enfield, that under a majority Conservative government there would be no such thing as a bog standard school, as any school labelled as requiring improvement would be converted to academy status whether the school had asked for it or not. Mr Cameron said that the Conservatives were pledging to ring-fence the education budget and that in the next Parliament £7 billion would be made available to create new school places. The Prime Minister, who was joined at the school by Education Secretary Nicky Morgan and Enfield North MP Nick Dubois, added that funding per pupil would not be cut, but he admitted that the sums given to schools would not be going up in line with inflation. He also said that, as well as focusing on academies, the Conservative government would be committed to establishing and expanding the free school project throughout the country. "It's a simple test," he said. "Is this what I want for my children? Is this what we want for every child in the country? I've got 3 children at the same London State Primary School, and when Samantha or I drop them off, we walk away knowing that they're enjoying their lesson. They've got great teachers and they're getting the best start. Every parent should have that peace of mind. In all schools there should be discipline in the classroom, intolerance of failure, high ambition and expectations, and exams to test progress, and crucially, all the things needed to prepare young people for a life in Britain today." When asked by the Advertiser whether, in the light of 3 senior leaders at a free school empire in the borough being investigated by the Department for Education, it's practical to operate as a school outside local authority control, he insisted, "If you look at how quickly academies or free schools are investigated when something goes wrong, they actually are more accountable than local authority maintained schools, because actually inspectors go in faster. You see that investigations happen faster. There's a greater intolerance of anything going wrong at academies or free schools." One of the pivotal ideas in his speech had centred on increasing opportunities available to parents and communities to set up free schools in order to make up for a shortfall in school places. However, in Enfield, the major shortage of school places falls in the west of the borough, on the other side of the A10 from where the majority of free schools have already been set up. Denying that relying on free schools, which can be set up anywhere, to solve shortages in specific areas was problematic, Mr Cameron insisted, "The point about free schools is that I think about 2/3 of them have been built in areas where they are needed, but equally I don't think we should starve parents of choice in areas where they want to set up a free school. You see places where free schools have created competition and choice and high standards right across the country, and I think that's all to the good." Mr Cameron admitted that the only way the Conservatives could see of protecting financing of schools would be through making difficult decisions in other aspects of the budget, including capping benefits further at just £23,000. But he denied that a punitive benefits cap to fund schools would be counterproductive, leaving more children in homes where heating and food would inevitably take priority over books, uniforms and school trips. "I don't think it will put them at a disadvantage," he said. "What I think it will do will be to encourage those families to look for work, particularly as we have vacancies in this country at an all-time high."
An MP has launched a petition to save weekly bin collections in the borough after it emerged that the council was in the early stages of consulting on the issue. Nick Dubois is calling on the council to keep its pre-election promise of weekly waste collections. The petition has been launched in response to news that the council had employed a market research company to contact residents and question them on their views on possible fortnightly rubbish collections. So far, the petition has attracted more than 100 signatures, and Mr Dubois says that the figure will increase as it is an issue which has incensed residents. "This is the reason people don't trust politicians," Mr Dubois told the Advertiser. In their election manifesto, the Labour group said they were committed to weekly waste collections, which most people would understand as weekly general rubbish collections, not just recycling one week and general household waste the next. This is an example of the council ducking and diving on the issue. Central government has given £2.4 million to local councils to help them maintain weekly bin collections. Weekly collections are cleaner and people prefer them. But the other issue here is about trust in political leaders. By spending thousands of pounds on a telemarketing company, they are trying to seek residents' permission to break their pledge on bin collections. However, Chris Bond, Cabinet Member for the Environment, who has admitted to initiating research on the issue, said, "We stand by our commitment to weekly waste collections, but with government cutbacks we have to find some ways of saving money. All we are doing is ringing round and asking people for their thoughts. I haven't had the statistics feedback yet, and I am looking forward to getting those figures." The petition is available to sign at www.petitionbuzz.com/petitions/weekly collections.
Campaigners who fought to save North London A and E services from falling foul of NHS cuts have called for them to be reinstated after it emerged that remaining centres have been inundated. As part of a radical overhaul of services across the capital, Chase Farm Hospital in the Ridgeway, Enfield, lost its A and E services in December 2013, with health bosses saying patients would be ferried instead to North Middlesex University Hospital in Stirling Way, Edmonton, and Barnet Hospital. Now, a group representing patients and ambulance workers' rights has written to Health Minister Lord Howe after figures emerged showing hundreds of patients were having to wait more than half an hour in ambulances as hospital staff struggle to find beds in A&E. The research found that 454 patients had to wait for between 30 and 59 minutes at the North Mid during December. Malcolm Alexander, chairman of the Patients Forum for the London Ambulance Service, told the Advertiser, "Each month we collect data from across London from the clinical commissioning groups and from the ambulance service. After campaigners won their campaign to keep A&E services at Lewisham Hospital on legal grounds, the government changed the law, which is an absolute tragedy. In the case of Chase Farm, it has clearly put pressure on ambulance staff and the A&E departments. The government should be turning it around and making a positive message about building new A&E services and reinstating some of the ones they have closed down across London. In 1995, I was involved in a group called Casualty Watch, where we literally went into hospitals and counted bodies. The situation then was exactly the same as it is now. The government said there would be extra ambulances and it was okay to downgrade emergency services because more people could be treated at the scene by paramedics. I got a reply from Earl Howe within 4 hours of sending my letter saying he would provide a full response as soon as possible. But I've written to him again because the Health Secretary said if ambulance staff go on strike, he would consider changing the law to make industrial action by paramedics illegal. These people work 12-hour shifts and do so much for the public. We have a shortfall of 400 paramedics in London, so I think this is the stupidest statement the Minister had made. Kieran McGregor of the Save Chase Farm campaign group said, "This is a vindication of what we've been saying for years, in a way. We are now saying, we told you so. We are now witnessing the problems that were inevitably going to happen. We were told there would be extra paramedics and 2 new ambulances as part of the plans to downgrade Chase Farm. But now we're being told they are having to make cutbacks. Mr. Alexander has called for a halt to A&E closures, and we agree, but we also want to see it reinstated at Chase Farm, which is why we are opposed to plans to sell off the land at Chase Farm. We want it to remain flexible so that when the government realises that these plans are disastrous, they can reverse them." A Department of Health spokesman said, "We know the NHS is busier than ever before, which is why we've given the NHS a record £700 million this winter, including £85 million for the NHS in London, for more doctors, nurses and beds. The NHS has ensured there are plans in every area to manage the extra demand. The funding, spent according to local need, has paid for 700 more doctors, nearly 4,500 more nurses and 5,000 more beds. It also includes almost 50 million for more paramedics, 999 call handlers and other resources to support ambulance services."
The leader of Enfield Council has insisted he acted in line with advice and rules from my National Party in his dealings with a Labour councillor who had been convicted of taxi fraud. Nisimi Erbil, a ward councillor for Lower Edmonton, was found guilty of possessing articles for use in fraud, fraud by false representation and no insurance, and was handed a 4-week prison sentence, suspended for 12 months, as well as a £580 fine and 8 points on his licence when he appeared at Southwark Crown Court on September the 26th last year. He had been spotted earlier that year by police driving his black cab in central London when he was licensed to drive it only in suburban London. The day after the story broke in a London newspaper, the National Labour Party suspended the councillor, who has now been removed from the licensing panel, and launched an investigation. At the meeting of the full council at the Civic Centre in Silver Street, Enfield, the leader of the Conservative group, Terry Neville, asked Council Leader Doug Taylor a series of questions about when he first became aware of Mr Erbill's conviction. In his written question, Mr Neville said, "As is now public knowledge, Councillor Nassimi Erbil was convicted last year of 2 fraud-related offences. When did he, Mr Taylor, first learn of the conviction, which I understand took place in Southwark Crown Court in September?" He added, "On learning of those convictions, what action did he take to remove Councillor Erbil from, in particular, the licensing committee, where, in the ordinary nature of the work of that committee, Councillor Erbil, a convicted fraudster, would be sitting in judgment on the licensing of others?" He also asked when, or if, Mr Taylor had referred Mr Erbil to the Council's Conduct Committee. Mr Neville ended the 7-part question by saying, "Does he agree with me that Councillor Erbil should resign his seat from this council?" However, rather than respond verbally, a written answer was passed through the council chamber in which Mr Taylor replied that when he hears of allegations relating to a councillor, he refers them to the chief whip of the group, who then refers the matter to the National Party. He said, "Such a referral took place promptly after the member informed me of the matter on January the 21st. On January the 22nd, the National Party decided to issue an administrative suspension, and all the councillor has been removed from all committees he sits upon. It is now for the National Party to take the action it sees fit, and it's not a matter of local group determination." Mr Erbil has also been removed from the Staff Appeals Panel, the Standing Advisory Council for Religious Education, and the Tourism and Twinning Working Party. He is still an independent councillor for Lower Edmonton. We've now reached the end of side 1 of this tape. Please stop your machine now, take out the cassette, turn it over and start side 2.